You know, for years, people have looked at the annual cover of The Economist and seen more than just a picture. Some see it as a kind of coded message for the year ahead. Today, we're diving into one specific analysis of the 2026 cover, and it puts forward a pretty provocative idea that what we're looking at isn't just a prediction, but maybe a blueprint for some major global events.
And that's the big question, right? Are we looking at a simple forecast, maybe a few educated guesses about what's coming? Or, as this analysis suggests, is it something way more deliberate, a visual game plan, an agenda laid out for all to see, if you know how to read it? Let's start unpacking these symbols and see where this interpretation takes us. So the first thing you notice is the frame. The entire scene is packed inside a soccer ball. Now, according to the source we're looking at, that's no accident. It's meant to tie everything to the 2026 World Cup in North America. The suggestion is that this global game of crisis and conflict has a timeline, and it's set to play out right around that tournament.
Now, let's talk about the colors, because they're a huge part of this. The whole thing is a stark contrast of red and blue. The analysis we're exploring says these colors are code. Red screams alarm, conflict, and instability. Blue, on the other hand, stands for order, technology, and authority. So right away, the visual tone is set. It's a world caught in a battle between chaos and control.
Okay, with the stage set, let's jump in and start our little guided tour of this image. First up, we're going to focus on the people, the figures, and what the source claims they represent in this massive global power struggle.
All right, first check out the world leaders. On one side, you've got a figure that looks a lot like Donald Trump, and he's depicted looking pretty worried. The source reads this as a clear symbol of American instability. But then you look over at the figures representing Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, and they're just walking calmly, looking confident. According to this analysis, that contrast is meant to show a major shift in the balance of power, with the U.S. looking weak while its rivals project strength.
The cover also hints at a new, maybe unexpected alignment. Here we see figures resembling India's Prime Minister and the President of the European Commission standing together. And what's emerging right from between them? A military tank. The source takes us to mean a future military alliance. And watching them from a distance is a figure looking like Ukraine's President Zelensky, holding binoculars. The theory here is that he's on the sidelines, an observer in this new dynamic, maybe waiting for his cue to get back in the fight.
Next up, we're going to look at the symbols that, according to this analysis, point to a massive failure of Western economies and legal systems. This is where the cover's message allegedly gets really, really dire.
The idea of economic collapse is laid out pretty bluntly. You see a graph with stocks just tanking, but the detail the source zeroes in on is the 2 pennies. This is seen as a literal prediction that the U.S. stock market is going to crash so badly that stocks will be worth, well, just 2 cents.
And it doesn't stop there. Right below that plunging stock chart, there's a dollar sign with huge cracks running all the way through it. You can't get much more obvious than that, right? This is interpreted as the collapse of the U.S. dollar as the world's main currency, signaling a huge fall from grace for America's economy.
And to top off this whole grim picture, there's a broken judge's gavel. This is seen as a powerful metaphor for a complete breakdown of law and order. It suggests a future where the courts fail and the very fabric of society just unravels right along with the economy.
So, shifting from economic doom and gloom, let's look at all the tech stuff on this cover. The source doesn't see these as signs of progress. Instead, they're seen as the tools for a new kind of mass surveillance and control grid.
This next image is, well, it's pretty unsettling. You have a video game controller wired directly into a human brain. The source connects this to everything from physical tech like Neuralink to the more subtle control of social media algorithms that shape how we think. It really makes you ask that crucial question, who's holding the controller? If you look up at the sky on the cover, it's just filled with drones and satellites. This analysis sees that as the next stage of surveillance and war. It's pointing to a future with constant eyes in the sky, total digital connection through things like Starlink, and a whole new kind of automated combat with robotic dogs and remote-controlled weapons. The whole idea of boots-on-the-ground invasions, this image suggests that's over, replaced by a future of remote, technological domination. This whole theme of control also extends to our own bodies. The pills and syringes you see scattered around are interpreted as symbols of pharmaceutical control. The theory being presented here is that global health agendas are being run by what the source calls a pharma mafia, which it claims uses mass medication not just for health, but as a for-profit system to control the population.
Okay, now we're moving into the really cryptic symbols on the cover.
According to this analysis, these are the clues that reveal a hidden, maybe even occult ideology that's supposedly driving this whole global plan.
At first glance, this one seems simple enough, right? It's a birthday cake for America's 250th anniversary in 2026. But look closer. Right behind it, you can see handcuffs and a raised fist, a classic symbol of resistance. That kind of suggests this celebration isn't quite what it appears to be.
And this leads to the source's central claim about the cake. 1776 wasn't just the year of American independence. It was also, to the day, the year the Bavarian Illuminati was founded. So the theory here is that this cake is secretly celebrating the 250th anniversary of that society, directly linking America's very founding to a hidden agenda.
And now we get to what is probably the weirdest, most out-of-place image on the entire cover. It's two ancient-looking figures in a really primitive boat. They're carrying these mysterious red pots, but the detail that really jumps out is the symbol on the front, a single, all-seeing eye.
The source connects that single eye to the Dajjal, who is sort of an antichrist figure in Islamic tradition. The theory goes that this boat represents a secret mission to go find some forbidden, ancient, or occult knowledge, old relics and secrets they need to empower this new global order. It's such a bizarre contrast, this ancient quest happening alongside all the futuristic tech.
So, after going through all these individual symbols, what's the big picture? What does it all add up to? Let's quickly summarize the future that this analysis claims the cover is laying out for 2026.
So, to wrap this whole interpretation up, the cover allegedly predicts this cascade of events: a total economic and political collapse of the United States, war becoming fully automated and remote, and populations being managed through drugs and technology. The theory is that out of all this engineered chaos, a new global order is supposed to rise up. Any resistance gets crushed, and AI-powered robots, like the little delivery bots shown on the cover, start taking over human jobs.
And that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've walked through one very detailed interpretation that sees this cover as a decoded agenda for global chaos and control. Is it a master plan, hidden in plain sight? A bunch of symbolic warnings? Or is it just a really provocative piece of art designed to get us talking? The source has laid out its case. So now, we'll leave the final question with you. What do you see?